Yeah, yeah, right. I generally have this thing here, but at the same time, I kind of like to have something that I can do my check marks and.
Where are we?
Yep.
So, I'm not going to say that.
Okay.
Is cell phone available?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I haven't done that.
Do I have my cell phone?
Doctor had to drive up and the timing didn't work. I just need to go to help him or something. I went and got my x-ray and then I got the binary and that one just like, oh, it kicked me right in the butt. That was rough. But then I was okay. Yeah, I've been fine with my like that was like I had to do the next day off work where I was like, oh my gosh. I'd rather do this.
Good evening and welcome to the Creswell City Council meeting, November 14, 2022. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for coming this evening. We begin tonight's meeting with a public forum. This is a period of time in which speakers may address the council for 3 minutes each. The council will not engage in discussion with the speakers or make decisions based on the public comment at this time, but the mayor may direct the city manager to follow up on the comments received. So our first speaker tonight is Dorothy Schick. Hello there.
Good evening. I'm here tonight just because I've been operating at the Creswell Airport for years. I think now 26 or so. I'm a flight instructor, own a business out there. I don't recognize most of you because I haven't shown up at a city council meeting for years. However, I wanted to thank the city tonight for the improvements that have taken place over the last several months to the runway and the area around the runway. That is fantastic. I actually thought I would die before I ever saw these improvements, so never say never, right? A testament to the manager, airport manager's ability to get a big project like that done, and I want to make sure that you all know that is a very important improvement to our infrastructure here at Creswell. But maybe you don't remember this as well as I do, but our airport here is part of a huge structure. It's like the I-5 structure for the airspace system. And it's a very important airport for those who are not just in Creswell, but outside of Creswell. In fact, just the other day, I happened to see a couple filling an aircraft with fuel, and I walked up, where are you from? And from Texas. They were going, they were in an airplane that looked like it should be going up to Alaska, and in fact it was. They purchased an airplane in Texas, and they were on their way up to Talkeetna, where they own a business. Why did they, I asked them, why did you stop at Creswell? They said, well, word of mouth. It's a good airport, has really good people, a nice FBO. We didn't want to go to Eugene. It's a horrible place to try to manage there's no one friendly there. We didn't want to go to Cottage Grove. We've heard of Creswell Airport. So it's important I emphasize that because I think we sometimes forget how important, you see outside of your bubble, so to speak, that this airport is so important to people outside of the Creswell Airport. I live in Eugene. I've been coming here for years, buying coffee, gas, Point S. I think every one of my neighbors in South Eugene now goes to Point S. So it's just important for you to know that the airport brings in more than just what you see here, in the city. In that respect, I'd also like to say, improving infrastructure, awesome. Don't change the character of the airport. There's a reason that people like it. It's because it's a friendly place. It doesn't have the same, fences around it that you can't even have a little kid come through and see an airplane like Eugene. So please remember that the character is really important, and the character has something that shouldn't be changed. Okay. So again, thank you for making that airport improvement and keeping the airport the way it is. Thanks.
Thank you, Dorothy. Our next speaker is Bjorn Dahlen. Is that correct pronunciation?
Yes, sir.
All right,
Yep,
thank
that's
you.
fine. Excuse me if I sound a little bit jet lagged, it's because I am. So I echo a lot of Dorothy's sentiments. I think that it is a great little airport. And it's one of the reasons why I've chosen to invest and develop building a hangar there. But in that process, I've also discovered there are quite a few problems with the leases. And it's been going on for a long time. I've been sharing quite a bit of this information with you by email, and I've given you a list tonight with a short list of some of the issues that I've found. Again, great airport, but these kind of things, when it's so pervasive as what seems to be the case, creates a breach of public trust and unfair business practices at the airport and with the city. One of the key things is that there are multiple, you'll see on this list here, there are multiple commercial leases to businesses that don't have valid insurance, don't meet the minimum standards for commercial aeronautical activity, and that creates a barrier to legitimate businesses that would like to do business at the airport. Another thing that's been a key concern for quite a while is the lease of the main hangar building, and that's actually leased to the airport manager under what was classified as a temporary lease since 1997. And it's never been revised for fair market value or a consumer price index like the other leases all have been. So I think that's grossly unfair, and particularly since there's a known conflict of interest there with the airport manager. In all the leases that I've reviewed, which is just a handful actually, the conservative estimate for the loss of revenue to the city over the last few decades has been over $100,000. On the second page of that packet that I gave you, there's a picture of the Emergency Operations Center hangar, which is currently leased out to another business on the field. To me, this is a gross injustice to the city of Creswell and the citizens, because it's nowhere near operational. It's actually part of the city of Creswell's emergency operations plan as a primary location. And then you see the state of it. If people needed to use that, impossible. And lastly, I just want to touch on, I see one of my emails is on the agenda under 3B. And I'd just like to touch on that briefly. So the Creswell Airport rules as they're written actually conflict with some FAA regulations. And the airport manager has used those rules to create conflict with airport users. A lot of the reason why there's been so many issues at the airport over the last couple of years is because...
I'm going to have to have you just wrap up your comments because that was 3 minutes.
Okay.
If you want to just make a quick wrap up in 10 seconds, that'd be great.
Sure, I'll do that. So I think you'll get to it there, but I can just say that a lot of the conflict was sowed by the airport manager by reporting something as a complaint that wasn't actually a complaint. It was a request for clarification of FAA rules. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. All right. And I would direct our city manager to continue following up on Bjorn's concerns.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm more than happy to follow up on this list that we have here before us tonight and provide you with a report at the next work session.
All right, thank you. Okay, we move to correspondence. We have 2 items. Do councilors wish to make any comments on either of the items in correspondence? Excuse me, I jumped ahead of number 2, which is the mayor's report. I'm out of line there. Okay, number 2 is the mayor's report. First of all, FEMA training. So I found an email from City Manager Amber to the council on January 3rd, stating the councilors are required to complete FEMA's ICS 100. So I'm guessing the councilors know who, I need to back up even further. We are minus a council member tonight. Councilor Norma Osborne is absent, and I do not have a notice from her, so that's considered an excused absence. She'll record that. Okay, so FEMA. If you know that you have taken and completed the FEMA training and have a certification, then you're good to go. If you have not, then it still needs to be done.
Correct.
And if you have any questions about it, please talk to Manager Amber about that. Okay?
I'll be sending out another reminder to City Council for the new councilors so that they can get the FEMA training. But it is really important that we have that FEMA training in order to be eligible for FEMA reimbursements.
Okay. Thank you. So then the second item is we received a letter of resignation from Jason Byrne from the Parks and Tree Board that you received. So I believe at this point we need to put that onto the December council meeting for the council to accept that. Is that correct, Manager Amber? Or can we accept that tonight? It was not on the agenda for tonight.
You can accept it for tonight. It's an appointment that's made by the mayor. So you can accept his resignation. He's resigning as of January 1st. You can also do it in December if you prefer to have it on the December agenda. That's fine as well.
So I think what I'd like to do is ask the council your permission to move this down to council action item D, and then we could accept it tonight, and then we can begin the notification process. That will give people more time who are interested to apply. So council, I'm looking to you for your consensus to move this down and make it item D. Yes? Okay. We will do that, and I'm going to ask Council President Proctor, don't let me forget, okay? All right, thank you. Okay, now we move to correspondence. We have 2 letters that we've received. So council members, are there any comments that you wish to make on either of the items under correspondence tonight? Councilor Castilla.
Yes, Mayor, just that the email from Doris Epperly, I asked that to be included because I said I would, and it's just there for the text there that if we wanted to consider that.
So I received the same email and got back to her and discussed this with Manager Amber because Doris has had an ongoing concern. And then I got another email back from Doris saying, I won't bother you anymore with this, because she said it is 30 minutes in our ordinance, so if a counselor wishes to bring this forward for consideration at a future work session to review our ordinance, we can certainly do that. So you can all sit on that. So you don't have to decide tonight, but counselors can bring forward items for work session discussion. And if this is something you'd like to bring forward, please do. On the second correspondence from Mr. Dolan, I did want to report that Manager Amber and I and Council President Prachu discussed Mr. Dolan's concerns last week at our meeting. And we put this on the work session agenda for the 28th, 2 weeks from tonight, that we'll be getting a report from Manager Amber. And then we'll have time for Q&A and interaction. Okay? So, councilors, any comments that you wish to make about either of the items in addition to Councilor Castilla's comments? Okay. Then we will move on to item number 4, which is the consent calendar. In the consent calendar, all items are considered routine and are enacted by a single motion. If a counselor wishes to pull an item for correction, please do so. Are there any items that counselors wish to pull from the consent calendar? All right, then I'm entertaining a motion to accept the consent calendar as presented. Yes,
Sorry, just that there's a misspelling of my name in the minutes.
okay.
That's it.
Where at?
That's a good question.
It's page 2. Yeah, under adopt storm drainage master plan, it's the next paragraph.
So that's under the October council minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, there it is. So, Grace, do you see that on page 2? Under adopt storm drainage, the next paragraph, Counselor CASTIOO. That's the only mistake Grace has made in all the time she's been working for the city of Creswell. That's pretty good.
First for everything.
happens all the time.
Okay, so, Counselor Castillo, you wish that to be corrected?
Yes, sir.
All right. Any other items, counselors, that need to be pulled? Okay, then I'm entertaining a motion to approve the consent calendar as amended. We have a motion from Counselor Prachu. Is there a second? Counselor Clark seconds the motion. Any further discussion? Council, proceed to vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, we move on to the administrative report. Manager Amber.
Thank you, Mayor. The first item is the October bills. I'd be happy to try and answer any questions you might have on the October bills, if you have any.
Counselor Shuck.
What is the Creswell commercial service? $3,695.
Which page are you on?
Page 1.
They're all labeled page 1.
Oh, 10/13, check issue date of 10/13.
Let's see. Creswell commercial service. You know, I don't know off the top of my head. Do you know, Jim? Oh, Cliff knows.
Yeah, that's the commercial account for fuel at 76.
Thank you.
Oh, so it gives our account name rather than 76? Okay, thank you.
Is there another question?
Counselor Castillo.
Yes, it just, the big one, the very first one on the first sheet, the all play systems, what service do all play systems provide?
That is the playground equipment for the splash pad that we received, and we will be installing at 2nd Street in a few months. So
Great,
that's
thank
what
you.
that is.
Okay, I had a couple of questions, just on the second page in, very bottom line, WH Pacific Incorporated, 15,419. Then I noticed on the fourth page in, there's another WH Pacific for 104,240 something. Just curious.
That's for our airport, and Shelley can answer that one.
So the $15,000 bill is for the design. It's the final billing that we have for the runway design part of the project. And the 104,000 plus is for the oversight during the runway construction.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And then just underneath that, Manager Amber, Wildish Construction Company, 1 million.
That's a runway.
Oh, that's the runway?
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
that's the first payment.
The first payment, and we have grants for all this, don't we?
Yes,
Yes.
100%.
Yes. Very good, okay. Any other questions, counselors, on the billings? Okay, let's move along.
Okay, the next administrative report is the Lane County Sheriff's Call for Service Report, and Sergeant May is here to answer any questions you might have on that report.
Mayor, council.
Okay, questions from counselors? Good evening, Sergeant May. That
Good
growth is coming along really nicely.
It'll go away January 1.
Okay, it's looking good. Counselor Prachu.
Well, howdy. Go ahead and ask my traditional question. I think it's probably even more pertinent today, as I think that this issue is going to be in the spotlight probably in the next year or so. But any changes in our homeless and transient population?
There have been a couple of new additions and a couple of folks that have moved on, but that's a discussion that we're going to probably begin to hold within the city as to how we're going to address homelessness on the streets. That's become a topic of discussion statewide.
Yep, that's a big one. And so you've noticed that we've had a few, but nothing out of the ordinary.
You've got a couple of folks that have settled in a permanent location or a semi-permanent location in vehicles on streets.
I see. Okay. And then one other question, I did notice a Measure 11 on here. We usually tend to want to know if there's anything you can tell us about those.
That's a good thing. Yeah. You'll notice that individual welfare checks had a number of cases drawn increase, and that's going to be when we go to check on somebody and maybe we find somebody deceased, and then to write that report that generates a case. Or if we go to check on somebody and they need to be transported to a hospital, that requires a case number 2. So you'll see those numbers move back and forth a little bit.
Well, and I'm sorry that I missed the last copy with a copy. Can you tell us, though, when the next one might be?
I took Saturday off after Thanksgiving to spend with my family. It'll be December.
December. Okay.
Last Saturday.
Look out for that one. Thank you.
Sir.
So just back up a sec. So the camp, when you spoke briefly here on the camping on the streets, so for example, like the 2 campers there that are here, right here in the corner there, is that what you mean by people that are camping on the streets?
You have a couple of folks that have, instead of moving their vehicles, permanent's not the correct word, but they're parked against the sidewalk. They're legally parked, but they're camping on the streets of Creswell, yes.
So that is okay, that is permissible?
That's a discussion the city manager and I are having right now, but that'll be probably something for the council to discuss going forward.
That will be something that the city council will need to discuss. The state has put out a brochure for us that we should go by, and it says that we have to have a 72-hour notice before we can move anyone. And before we can move them, we have to make sure that we're moving them to a place that isn't difficult for them to be in, that's warm, safe, and dry. And we have to worry about their personal belongings as well. So it's getting very complicated, and this is based on some court rulings. So we'll have Ross come and talk about it so that you get the exact information that you need to make a judgment on where we need to be as a city. But it's based on court cases, and it's based on some legislation that was passed. So we're trying right now to be very careful about how we address the homeless issue until city council has a chance to really chew on it and let us know what are going to be the policies in the city of Creswell.
Thank you. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, the next item up is the city attorney's report. And you can see that we have been talking to our city attorney. And I'd be happy to answer any questions about that if you have any.
Counselor Shuck.
I think you just answered my question, but maybe there's something else regarding homelessness. You had consulted with Ross about homelessness issue, and I assume it's because of the letter from the state?
No, we haven't received a letter from the state. We've received a direction. It's a pamphlet, and I'll get that to you. It's through LOC. So we'll get that information to you. But no, we have not received anything directly from any attorneys or anything like that regarding our homelessness.
Okay, so the consultation with our city attorney was just in preparation of making a policy?
Well, we've been doing some things. We've been moving people. And so I wanted to talk to the city attorney about how we've been moving people and how we address somebody who might be in a tent at Garden Lake Park, for instance. It's not real clear that, we have our parks. There's a lot to it. We have our parks rules and regulations, and those come into play as well as the state's direction regarding how to handle homeless people. So I needed some guidance in that area.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay,
Okay, the next report is the code enforcement report. And I say Chelsea's doing a nice job. She's getting more voluntary compliance, and that's always good. And you can see the pictures that she took before and after. She's also been working on abating graffiti. We've been having some graffiti around town. And she's been keeping her eye out for that and making sure that the private property owners understand that they need to remove that as quickly as possible.
so I had a question. 48% sign code violations. Can you shed any light on those?
Sign code violations tend to be real estate signs and yard sales signs. So she's still dealing with a good number of those coming out of the summer, but as we go into winter, there should be fewer sign code violations.
Yeah, that was interesting because that was almost half of all the violations. So real estate signs, I don't understand that one. I mean, I see them all around. How is that a violation?
Well, they can't be in the right of way.
Okay, sure.
So if they're in the right of way, they're a violation.
But if they're on a lawn or something, then they're fine.
They're fine. Yeah.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Okay,
Okay, and then the last report is the building permit recap report. And you can see all of the great building permits we've issued this last month and the months before. And that concludes the administrative reports for tonight.
okay, thank you very much, Manager Amber. We move on to council action items.
Well, you want me to kick it off?
Kick it off.
Okay. The first item that you have under your council action items for tonight is removal of Scott Guyan from the Parks and Tree Board. I did follow up with him, and he does not wish to serve any longer. So he is okay with being removed from the Parks and Tree Board at this time.
Okay, and this is as per our governing rules, section 10.4, where it talks about removing a member prior to expiration of term of office, one of those reasons being missing 3 consecutive regular meetings. So, council, I'm looking to you for consent to remove Scott Guyan from the Park and Tree Board. Well, it says here, with consent of the council. So I believe I just need consent of the council. So, looking for consent. Yes, I have consent of the council, so we will remove Scott Guyan from the Park and Tree Board, and I will direct Grace to please advertise that opening. Okay, item 6B. This is Grace.
The city recently received a new liquor license application from Ryan Gilpatrick, owner of Emerald Spirits. Emerald Spirits is located at 169 East Oregon Avenue. Mr. Gilpatrick has applied for an off-premises license to sell liquor. Beer and wine is being added to his liquor store. I forwarded the application to Sergeant May and requested a background check be completed and a recommendation be completed as well. The recommendation has been added to your packet this evening, as well as the complete application to the Liquor OLCC. According to the state statute, all liquor license applications must be approved by the local governing body prior to issuance by the Oregon Liquor Control Commission. Financial considerations: there are no financial considerations with this item. And staff recommends approval of the liquor license application for Emerald Spirits as a result of Sergeant May's recommendation on the background check. Council can choose to approve or deny the application.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Grace? Councilor.
Thank you. So just to confirm, so at the liquor store that's already established, they're just wanting to sell beer and wine in addition to hard liquor?
Yes.
Correct.
Councilor Brochu.
All right, I may be a little bit confused here because it does mention that this is an off-premises liquor license, and so it looks like it provides some other types of things that, or allows other types of things. So, for instance, the delivery piece of it, is that true? Is that?
It is true. I am not aware of them doing the direct delivery.
But this could open the door and pave the way for that type of service, is what I understand. Is that maybe you?
It does not.
Does or does not?
According to the information from the OLCC, it says that the license comes with the privilege to deliver malt beverages, wine, and cider directly to an Oregon resident. These deliveries may be made on the same day the license receives the order from the customer. Same-day delivery, and on any day after the day the license receives the order from the customer. Next-day delivery. All deliveries direct to Oregon resident must meet the requirements in OAR 845-006-0392 and 845-006-0396.
Okay, so the clarification then being that while there's a specific purpose for this particular extension of the license, it sounds like there's only one use that's going to be, and that's going to be
Yes, and that's just going to be the retail
additional
sales,
okay.
additional sales of the beer and wine.
Okay. All right, it's just interesting because I kind of caught that there was a little bit more to it than just the additional offerings, so something to consider. Thanks.
So Grace, my question is really a follow-up. And why is this called an off-premises license?
This is how the license is labeled for the off-premises that it's being taken out the door. And it's a closed item.
So the current
So it will
license
be
is
used-
also an off-premises
Yes.
license, but it's not, does not include beer and wine?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions, council? Okay, I'm entertaining a motion on item 6B for the new liquor license. Councilor Shuck.
I move that the city council approve the liquor license application for Emerald Spirits as presented.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Councillor Inman seconds the motion. Any further discussion? Council will proceed to vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item 6C.
This is the long-awaited parade ordinance. You have reviewed this. It started back a couple of years ago regarding parade permits. And we came to a settlement agreement with Julie Bivens in February of 2022 regarding violations of the Creswell Municipal Code, and that would be regarding parades. You met with the city attorney and talked through the ins and outs of the parade permit, and it is ready for you to consider tonight based on those discussions.
Thank you, Manager Amberg. All right, council members, you have questions for Manager Amberg or discussion? Councilor Castillo.
Just clarification, Manager Amber, on if a person appeals, the municipal judge shall schedule a hearing date which shall not be later than 10 days following the filing. That just means that he has to schedule it.
Right.
Because they only meet once a month, right?
Right.
Okay, that's what I thought, just thank you.
Okay.
Any further questions? Discussion, council? Okay, then I'm entertaining a motion on item 6C. Councilor Prachu.
All right, I move that the City Council adopt Ordinance 553, replacing Chapter 10.30 of the Creswell Municipal Code regarding parades and processions, and repealing Ordinance 262, Sections 31 through 36.
Now you
The
get to
second
read it
reading?
again.
Yes, I thought there was a second reading there. I move that the City Council adopt Ordinance 553, replacing Chapter 10.30 of the Creswell Municipal Code regarding parades and processions, and repealing Ordinance 262, Sections 31 through 36.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor, and it's read twice by title. So is there a second on the motion? Councilor Castillo seconds the motion. All right. Any further discussion, council? As this is an ordinance, it will pass tonight if it is approved unanimously. If not, it will come back at the December City Council for a second vote, and at that time, it only needs to pass by majority vote. So, council will proceed to vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. We move to item 7, which is, we move to item 6D. Thank you, Councilor Prachu. This is the resignation letter from Jason Byrne. So, council, I would like to recommend that we accept the resignation letter. In fact, I think I just need your consent because we just did this. So I'm asking the council to give their consent to accepting Jason Byrne's resignation from the Parks and Tree Board and to advertise the opening. Do I have your consent? All right, so Grace, if you would notice that we now have 2 openings on the Parks and Tree Board. And when you notice that, can you also notice if they're for citizens or if one of them is for a non-resident? Okay, thank you, Council President Prachu, for reminding me. Now we move on to item number 7, which is the executive session. The City Council will now be entering into an executive session, which is held pursuant to ORS 192.660(2) to review and evaluate the employment-related performance of the Chief Executive Officer of any public body, a public officer, employee, or staff member who does not request an open hearing. So I'm going to recess the meeting. The City Council will reconvene next door, and And when we're done with the executive session, we will come back into open session. You're welcome to remain until that time if you'd like to. Thank you.
Sorry, no, it's okay.
Oh, I scribbled on this envelope, I'll have to give that to you too.
You want me to have the recording device raised? Thank you. City Council is now returning to open session following our executive session. And I'm going to turn it over to Councilor Castillo, Chair of the Administration Committee, to give us a report.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Yes, so you just said, we've just completed the evaluation for Manager Amber. Thank you to all councilors for turning in your evaluations. And we've also set the goal setting for meeting, which will be February 27th, work session. And that's about it.
Okay, so councilors, first of all, we need to make a decision on whether to retain Manager Amber's services for 2023. So the floor is open for council discussion. Councilor Prachu.
Well, I think the conversation that we just had in the other room for an hour basically speaks to the great job that Manager Amber has done for this last year, especially in terms of doing so in light of many challenges and obstacles and things like that. And so I do believe that I would recommend that we keep her around for another year. Yeah.
Any other councilors?
I would agree with that statement. I think we should also keep Michelle around for another year.
All right, Councilor Clark.
I would say I'm also in concurrence with the statements of my colleagues here. I think that you do a fantastic job, and you help stabilize our city and keep us connected to the mission and strategic plan. And so I am also fully in support of retaining you for another year.
Councilor Shuck.
I agree with Councilor Clark. I cannot fathom us moving into tackling our new strategic plan without you. And your ability to hire staff in today's challenges of economics and availability of qualified people is just been remarkable, and thank you.
Councilor Inman.
I agree with everybody. We keep you for another year, and you get to keep doing the amazing work that you do every day.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I agree too. All right, council, I am entertaining a motion on this discussion item. Is there a motion on the floor? You get to put it in your own words. Councilor Clark.
I move that we retain Manager Amber's service for the city of Creswell for the next year, as well as move to approve a 2.5% merit increase.
So I think we need to do those separately.
Okay. I then just move to retain Manager Amber's services for the city of Creswell as city manager for another year.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
A second.
Councilor Inman seconds the motion. Any further discussion? All right, council will proceed to vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. You're with us for another year.
Thank you.
All right. Now we're going to discuss and entertain a motion on a merit increase for Manager Amberg. And I will return that to Councilor Clark if you would like to speak to that first.
I believe that Manager Amberg has gone above and beyond for our services in her services for the last year. Has worked exceptionally hard and has done incredible work for us. And so I would be supportive, and I would encourage my counselors to also consider a 2.5% merit increase.
Okay, any other counselors wishing to speak to that? I just want to throw out that I know a number of years when it's been proposed a merit increase and you've turned it down. So I hope you'll accept this one. And we do appreciate you very, very much. All right, I'm entertaining a motion on a possible merit increase for Manager Amber. Councilor Clark.
I move to approve a 2.5% merit increase for Manager Amberg.
Would you like to state when that will begin?
Yes, thank you for that clarifying question. That would be effective January 1, 2023.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Councilor Shuck seconds the motion. Any further discussion? Council will proceed to vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. I'm very humbled by your support.
Thank you. We're pleased to have you.
Yes, great.
Okay, so we move to item number 9, upcoming meetings and events. So the next time we will see each other will be, unless you're on the Parks and Tree or something like that, after Thanksgiving. So everybody have a wonderful Thanksgiving next week. And since it is Thanksgiving, I want to throw out that I am very thankful for all of you. And we're going to miss Kevin and Misty. And you served through some very, very difficult years, 4 difficult years. So thank you very, very much. And be sure to come to the January council meeting because we'll have something for you. Okay, and with that, we are adjourned. Oh, Grace, do you need all of our performance evaluation packets back? I thought so. Okay, so each of us
I collected are in the packet that I
turn ours in.